has been just that, super and wild. Tyler Huntley going in for the go-ahead score in the fourth. Instead, it's the local kid, Sam Hubbard, showing his muscle on a 98-yard fumble return for the go-ahead. Then Huntley, last gasp against the Bengals. James Prochet almost came down with it. Instead, it's Cincinnati hanging on. They wave goodbye to Baltimore and hello to Buffalo as they are shuffling off to visit the Bills next weekend. It's chalk in the AFC as it'll be the top seed, the Kansas City Chiefs, coming off the bye against MJD's Jacksonville Jaguars. Over in the NFC, we don't know who the Niners will play. It'll either be the Buccaneers or the Cowboys, the winner of Monday night's game down in Tampa. The one seed, the Philadelphia Eagles, will play host to their NFC East rival, the New York Giants. And with that, we welcome you to Game Day Final, presented by Mercedes-Benz. That is MJD. No predictions today. I am Chris Rose, but boy, we were treated to something special today. It started in Buffalo, continued in Minneapolis, finished up in the Queen City. And what a crazy last drive for the Baltimore Ravens, right? They get the ball after a punt and a penalty in Cincinnati territory with a couple of minutes to go, few timeouts as well. What'd you think of their clock management down the stretch?
Listen, when you're a team that mainly runs the football, and we know the Baltimore Ravens, they don't throw the football a ton, especially with Huntley here, it's tough to manage the clock, right? You don't practice all these pass plays in these situations, unlike the Cincinnati Bengals who throw the ball. And so the problem here was they got down, and they got down late in the game. They had to play the type of ball that they didn't want to play, and obviously it bode well for the Bengals. But this holding penalty was huge. It put them back, and then they put them in, second and 20. Then it was third and 20, and then obviously fourth and 20, and they kind of put themselves in a bind there.
I got to tell you, though, to have 10 plays on that final drive and to net 19 yards, I felt like they needed a little more tempo. I understand that you're thinking, well, if we give Joe Burrow too much time, they've got a great kicker who showed that he's great under pressure a year ago. But, man, it felt like they could never get into a rhythm on that last drive.
And I thought, you're exactly right. I thought there was a point where it was about a minute and 20 seconds left. I thought they should have called timeout there. You were screaming that in the screen room. And then if you'd have called timeout, you could have kind of gathered yourself. Mm-hmm. But they didn't. They let the clock run down to 50 seconds, and then they tried to get going. You got to understand, you want to keep your offense. And look, Harbaugh and his staff, they understand this. But when the crunch time goes, especially with your backup quarterback, and I know he's played well down the stretch, you have to let him be comfortable in there. That's a chaotic situation, trying to get everyone going there, huddling up, not calling timeout, wasting time. And even if I was nervous about Joe Burrow and their kicker,
McPherson,
your defense did an awesome job.
Unbelievable.
Tonight and the last two times you played the Bengals. So I'd rather put it on my defense because that's where we're at our strong suit right now, where we're completely healthy.
If we want to give credit out there, let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals defense. It was totally the play that changed the game. The Ravens were really dominating, doing whatever they wanted offensively there in the second half. They get down to the goal line, and Tyler Huntley reaches over the goal line. Logan Wilson punches the ball out, and the local kid, Sam Hubbard, 98 yards on this fumble return. That is the longest game-changing score for a touchdown in the fourth quarter playoff history in the NFL. What'd you just think of this call? It felt like he was too far.
It was way too far. Even though it may be a half yard, it's too far to be able to jump over to even try to ride that surge. I thought they ran a fourth down play where they had Huntley in the gun, where they ran like a QB power or counter with a bunch of guys. That would have been a better play call here. It was a bad play call, bad execution, which then turns into an opportunity for the Bengals defense. They took advantage of it. Hubbard is able to get the ball and then take off down the sideline. But what effort here by Mark Andrews.
Yeah, that was unbelievable.
I mean, he walked everyone down from about 60 yards to try to save a game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of the Benjamin Watson, Champ Bailey play, Patriots and Broncos almost 2 decades ago. That shows you how old we are. But the Bengals, let's remember what they did last year. Everybody wants to focus on Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Mixon and that offense. It was their defense that got them to the Super Bowl. In 4 games last year, including the game against the Rams, they forced 9 turnovers. This is their DNA moving forward defensively.
They don't get enough credit for what they do, right? They're not a flashy defense that's going to get a ton of sacks and all these different pressures. No, they play sound defense. They force you to go methodically down the field. And when you take a chance that we just saw there, they're going to jump routes, right? They're going to be where they're supposed to be. As you see, guys are racing to the sidelines to force Huntley to cut back to the teeth of the defense. They just play sound football. And a sound defense, I was told this by Mel Tucker, who is now at Michigan State, was with me in Jacksonville. A sound defense where my guys know what they're doing and where they're supposed to be is one of the toughest defenses to figure out and try to beat.
If you look at it from the lens of the Baltimore Ravens, I know that they used a backup quarterback, and we're going to talk about Lamar Jackson and his future later on here on Game Day Final. This is one where they're going to be kicking themselves. This is one where they felt like they should have won. They outplayed Cincinnati, particularly offensively, in the second half. They just made some mistakes. It's the one at the goal line. It's the personal foul on the punt try, even though they eventually got another 3-and-out stop.
But
still,
after that.
it did affect a little bit of field position and all that sort of stuff.
And time.
Some missed opportunities for this Ravens squad.
Well, look, I'll say this. There were two teams going into the playoffs, one on the NFC, one in the, obviously, AFC, that teams they want to see. First, it was the Niners. We talked about in the NFC. We talked about that yesterday. But it's the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC. But the one team that had an opportunity to get after them was the Baltimore Ravens because it was a divisional foe. It's a team that they know. And so anytime you play an AFC North division game in the playoffs, anything can happen, as we saw here. Now, a lot of teams are excited and you know, that are not excited that the Bengals passed on, especially the Kansas City Chiefs, who are 0-3 against this Bengals team. And the Buffalo Bills, I'm excited to see this game because obviously the last one of what happened with Damar Hamlin. So this is going to be an interesting thing to do, but the Bengals are tough.
Oh, yeah.
And if anything, a Ravens team that can run the football and play strong defense was going to be tough in the playoffs as well.
By the way, credit to that Ravens defense. 3 times they faced the Bengals this year. Joe Burrow never got more than 217 yards passing in any of those 3 games. But kudos to the Cincinnati Bengals and their defense. Let's see, is Sam Hubbard still out of breath? He's hanging out with Stacey Dales.
Bengals defensive end Sam Hubbard, where do we start? I mean, you made history. Unbeknownst to you, you come in and make history with that fumble return for a touchdown in the postseason.
Yeah, Logan Wilson punched it out. I was just in the right place at the right time. Worried about getting hawked down, but I had some of my teammates blocking for me. And I'm just glad I made it to the end zone.
So you're on the 2-yard line, and Tyler's up there trying to loft it through. Like, is that something you guys practice?
I mean, I thought it was just a football player making a play. Logan just jumps up, punches it out. His awareness is off the charts, so credit to him.
So you grab it. At what point do you get gassed? You got to go 98 yards to the end zone.
Well, it was a full, long drive before that play happened, so I was already gassed. So I think I had a good burst to start, but I started slowing down. Caught a few good blocks from Marcus Bailey, and rest is history.
So saw you getting some oxygen on the sideline. Is that your idea?
Yeah, I needed it.
That's the second touchdown defensively of your career?
Yeah.
Okay.
Both game winners, rookie year and now.
Yeah. What's it mean to do it in this moment for you, Sam? You're a homegrown guy. You've played your whole career here. And what was it like to feel that crowd erupt?
Yeah, it was more so for my teammates. I know how hard we worked. And just looking in the faces of everybody, just proud of me for making the play. That's priceless.
Sam, I can feel almost palpable the brotherhood on this team, maybe even more so than the Super Bowl run team you guys had last year. How much more chemistry do you have at this stage as you continue now in the playoffs?
Yeah, that's what I said to the guys in the locker room. You know, playoff football is always ugly, but you just got to stare adversity in the face and not flinch and stick together. And like you said, we got a great team with that chemistry, and I love going to war with these guys.
Where's that game ball going?
I think it's probably going to be front and center on my mantle.
All right, keep it up. Thanks, Sam. Appreciate you.
Divisional matchups, dates and times, they are official. The 1 seed, the Chiefs, taking on the 4 seed Jacksonville. That kicks it off Saturday at 4:30 Eastern on NBC. The nightcap, the Giants and Eagles on Fox. Sunday, we finally get that Bengals and Bills game we so crave. That's the early game on CBS, and then either the Cowboys or Buccaneers out in San Francisco Sunday.